this one producer is the face behind some of the biggest rap hits of the last decade, with production credits on songs such as God's Plan by Drake, Goosebumps by Travis Scott, and Family Ties by Baby Keem. Though more recently, he's been on a bit of a generational 2024 run, producing songs like Euphoria by Kendrick Lamar, as well as Hood by Air, Ketamine, Backrooms, and Evil Jordan by Playboi Carti. And who is this mystery producer, you ask? Well, it is none other than Cardo. Cardo is personally one of my favorite producers and someone who I think has a super unique style. So why are artists like Kendrick Lamar, Travis Scott, and Playboi Carti obsessed with his production style? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to be going over today. As well as that, I'm going to be showing you how you can implement aspects of his style to get artists to gravitate towards your beats instead of others. So let's get started. To make this easy for both of us, I'm going to create a checklist going over 4 key components of his style. And the first of which we're going to be covering is simple melodies. And having simple melodies relates to the phrase, produce for artists, not for other producers. In other words, you want to make beats that leave room for the artist, rather than making beats that will impress other producers. And having a simple melody is a great step towards that. So let's go over some things that make a simple melody. And the first of which is going to be repetition. And in your beat, you can use repetition of chords as well as melodic phrases. So as you can see here with this beat, I just have this 1 bar melodic phrase and I copy it over every single other bar. Now, to make this effective, you want to make sure what you're repeating is both catchy and just good, to be honest. If you're repeating a shit phrase in your melody is going to sound like shit. Plain and simple. So make sure you're repeating something that's pleasing to the ears and that people won't get bored of listening to over and over again. The next thing you can do to make your melodies more simple is to limit the amount of layers in your melody. For beats in this style, I generally recommend not layering more than 4, 5, or even 6 melodic components. Limiting the amount of layers in your melodies ensures that it won't be overcomplicated and will leave room for the artist. Now, with that being said, we can cross off the first part of our checklist. So now we can go over the next significant aspect of Cardo's style, which is his insanely unique bounce. And a key component of this is his 808s. Typically, in an 808 pattern, producers will repeat a phrase consisting of 2 or 4 bars. So here's just a super standard 808 pattern. It plays this rhythm for 2 bars and then copies it over to the next 2 bars. And this is a rhythm that's quite literally used in millions of trap beats. But what's unique about Cardo's style is that he places the emphasis of his 808s every 1 bar instead of 2. And a super simple way you could do this is just by having an 808 hit every 1 bar. So with that being said, we're going to compare a typical 808 pattern to one of Cardo's signature bounce. And when listening to this, I really want you to analyze the effect of that 1 bar emphasis. It may sound a little bit funky on its own, but when placed in context with other drums, it provides a much more unique bounce than a typical 808 pattern. And with that being said, that's going to cross off the second part of our checklist. So now let's go into the third aspect of Cardo's signature style, which is his amazing ability to maintain energy throughout his beats. And I'm going to show you exactly how he does this. Instead of just having a beat that repeats the same pattern over and over again, he introduces and takes away certain aspects throughout the beat. And if you really want to nail his style and maintain energy throughout your beats, I recommend using this trick with open hats. So as you can see, for the first part of the chorus, we're leaving out the open hat, and in the next part, we're introducing it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what this sounds like in action. Introducing that open hat really just elevates the energy of the beat. So with that being said, we can cross off the third part of our checklist and move on to the next. Now, the next aspect of his style isn't necessarily essential, but I see it a lot in his beats. And that is the implementation of cowbells. Now, I'm just using the standard 808 cowbell. You can find it in literally like 90% of drum kits nowadays. And I like to have my cowbells hitting on the root note of our melody. This ensures that there won't be any kind of melodic clash between the melody and the cowbell. And with that being said, we have crossed off every part of our checklist. So to recap Cardo's signature production style, you're going to want to use simple melodies, have a unique drum bounce, introduce and take away certain elements of your beat at certain points, and optionally use cowbells. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learned something new. If you have any questions, please throw them in the comments down below and I will do my best to answer them. Also, consider checking out my Patreon if you want the FLPs to all of my beats in all of my videos, including this one. That way, if you wanted to go more in detail on the arrangement, the mixing, the mastering, the melody, all that kind of stuff, it's right at your fingertips. And finally, go ahead and subscribe down below if you feel like you learned something new or useful from this video. Other than that, that's going to be it. Peace.